Welcome to Swish and Flick, an all Potter podcast.
Swish and flick. Everyone? Swish and flick.
Hello and welcome to episode 143 of Swish and Flick. I'm Tiffany.
I'm Megan.
I'm Katie.
I'm Sarah.
And this episode is sponsored by Agata Malicki. Thank you so much.
Thank
you.
So today we will be discussing the second half of chapter 14 of Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, Percy and Padfoot. So make sure that you have read the chapter and you're ready to flop your way through the details.
Flop, flop, flop.
Before we begin, we have super exciting weekly prophet news.
We do. Baby Grint has arrived, and it's a girl.
Woo!
Baby Grit.
Can I just say that Carly texted me, and she said, I'm sure that you've seen this, but did you hear that Quarantina Grint was born?
Oh my god.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
I thought that was great.
That's a good joke.
Yeah.
That's a joke.
I am excited for Rupert, even though I'm sad. It never could happen.
Oh my god.
You are out of your mind.
But honestly, congrats to him and his girlfriend. And that's awesome.
Yeah, good for them. A little spark in a time we need some extra light, you know?
Someone posted it in the group and said, Megan, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm all right.
I thought that was amusing.
It's hilarious.
Is that all?
Yeah, that's all I got. That's all she
That's
wrote.
all we
Wow.
got. Okay.
That
Katie.
was short. Yes, ma'am.
Katie. Are you ready?
I'm beyond ready.
Are you looking at me?
I'm looking right at you through this webcam.
Well, you look at it. It's time for the recap.
Okay. Harry wrote a cryptic letter to dear old Snuffles. It's pretty good. Like, we all get on Harry about not being smart enough to be Ravenclaw. This could probably maybe get him in.
Yeah.
And he also ran into his current flame in the Owlery. If you don't know who that is, that's Cho Chang. And she even stuck up against him, against Filch, and then said that she thought he was very brave for standing up to Umbridge. Shout out to Eric Munch. And Ron has his first ever Quidditch practice, even though it didn't really go too well. But he didn't go to the hospital wing. Katie Bell did. So I guess it went okay for him.
It was partially okay.
Right.
For Harry, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, it was Weasley's fault that she's in the hospital wing.
Mm-hmm.
Any whoosies, after practice, they end up back in the common room, finally getting their piles of homework done, and they're interrupted by a cool letter from Percy. Hey, dude, long time no hear. He's just giving Ron some advice, some congratulations. And then they continue to finish their homework, and then finally, when the common room is empty late at night, Sirius's head pops into the fire. So that's also cool, but also hot because it's in a fire. And then they have a conversation with him and learn some stuff, and he leaves and the chapter ends.
Coolio.
Dump. All right. That was well done. I'm very proud of you.
Thanks.
So we always have to remember that we're like halfway through this chapter, which I have to forewarn everyone. I'm still splitting the upcoming chapters so far, so they're just too long.
They're just long, man.
I mean, I'm not sad about it.
Girlfriend likes to write. I mean, this is just the way it's going to be. So about a half an hour later, Hermione asks them how practice was as Ron and Harry climb through the portrait hole, and it starts out with this quote from Harry. It was... And then he didn't have any time, or maybe not even the words to get out that before Ron completed his sentence for him. And Ron said it was completely lousy, said Ron in a hollow voice, sinking into a chair beside Hermione. She looked up at Ron, and her frostiness seemed to melt. Well, not for long. Get ready to get mad again. Because we know that they're very, what do I want to say? They're not like fighting. They're like nitpicky.
Yeah, they're
You know,
They're
bickering.
like-
That's the word that I
Yeah.
wanted.
Pre-married couple.
yeah.
These are premarital spats, if you
Right.
will. So Hermione tells Ron that, it's only the first practice. She's sure that he's, it's bound to take some time to get better, but she also can't finish her sentence because Ron snaps at her and says, "Who said it was me that made it lousy?" And I said, everyone just needs to calm down.
You need to calm down.
You're
You're
being too loud.
But honestly, like, even just reading her reaction, you can tell that she really didn't mean it that way. Like, underlying, I think she really did. But when she said it, I don't think she meant for it to come across like that. But Ron is feeling super down about himself. We always say that, he needs to have that confidence boost to show his full potential because he's really great at a lot of things.
Yeah.
And I love these moments within the series because it shows you how relatable and real these characters are. Like, who hasn't snapped at someone like that because of how they felt about what they were doing or who they were internally, and they took it that way because that's how they were already feeling about themselves. Like, it's just so incredibly relatable.
I, the Slytherin, have never done that before.
No, I know you haven't because you know what, honey? You're perfect.
I know.
I
Oh
love
my.
all of you. Even if you were to snap at me, it's all good.
Sometimes
you
somebody, you just have to be a little snapping turtle and just snap, snap, snapperoo,
Yep.
But it's fine. But I also think this is one of the things that makes it so people can really easily connect to the characters within the series.
Yeah.
So just say that. So Ron angrily says that he's going to get started on his homework and he stomps off to the boys' dorms, and Hermione turns to Harry and she's like, so was he lousy? And like a loyal friend, Harry says, no, like a liar. But Hermione doesn't really believe him anyway, so she gives him like a look, and because of the reaction that Ron gave, she kind of knows already that something was up. So Harry elaborated a little on this, on his performance, which was basically that, he could have played better, right? He could have done better. It's fine. Everything's fine.
It's fine. As there's fire everywhere.
Right.
This is fine.
Exactly. Anywho, neither Harry or Ron made very much progress on their homework that night. But Ron couldn't think about anything but the practice, and Harry was even having trouble getting the chant, Gryffindors are losers, out of his head. So their entire Sunday was spent in the common room doing their homework. And unfortunately for them, the day was very beautiful. It was clear. And the rest of the Gryffindors were spending their day out on the grounds because it might be the last sunshiny day that year.
That's terrible.
These
We've
are
all had that
honestly.
day, man. Like, you're either at work and it's freaking gorgeous in the summertime, or like something you waited until the last minute to do stops you from going outside or going out somewhere with your friends or whatever. We've all been there.
Yep.
It's the worst.
Agreed. The worst. So by that night, Harry felt that somebody had been beating his brain against his skull with how much work he has been doing, and I can totally relate to that feeling.
Yep.
So he comes up with the brilliant idea to, do more homework during the week, and then they wouldn't have to do it on a beautiful Sunday. And then I also said, stop getting detentions, maybe.
What a concept.
No, but he's standing up for what's right. I cannot fault him for this.
Yeah.
So Professor McGonagall assigned them an essay on the inanimatus conjurus spell. Is that how you say that? It sounds like an inanimate object. So an inanimatus conjurus spell. So I looked that up, and on it's Harry Potter wiki, it says the incantation's unknown. It's a transfiguration spell. Whoa. The effect is also unknown. Given the name, it's likely to conjure inanimate objects.
Well, thanks, Internet. That's swell.
The breakdown. Then Professor Sinistra assigned an essay about Jupiter's moons. And friends, I would like to talk to you a moment about the moons of Jupiter.
Yes, please.
Lay it on me.
Okay, are you ready? Sasa, are
Yeah.
you buckled up? Are you ready?
I don't have buckles, but sure.
Okay. So Jupiter has 53 named moons and another 26 awaiting official names.
That's awesome.
So a total of 79 moons.
Can't find my bell. Oh, here
Why
it
don't
is.
we name them? How many are unnamed?
You want to name 26 moons?
Sure.
All right,
got
you name 26.
Sarah,
Yes!
Sarah Jr., Sarah the Third, Sasa.
Florence.
What are we at?
It
Florence
could be like Mike
Jr.,
Tyson, and it could all be
Florence
just
the
Sarah.
Third,
Flo.
Megan
No.
Jr.,
No.
Megan the
Megan.
Third, Katie Jr.,
Teddy.
Katie the Third.
Excuse me, but I would like one to be named Megan Jr., not Megan.
I mean,
Megan Jr.
I'm cool with that.
Frank Jr. Jr.
Yeah, Lady
Anything.
Supreme.
We know like Europa and Ganymede, but if you would like to know more about Jupiter's moons, they are listed in alphabetical order, the ones that are named, on solarsystem.nasa.gov.
Let's name one of them
NASA.
Karen.
She's the last moon. No, I'm just kidding.
Susan.
Susan Moon. Shout out to Karens and Susans if
God,
you're nice.
Karen.
Meow.
Iggy has
That was
input.
the shout out to
Iggy
Karen.
wants to be named after a moon. Or rather, he wants a moon named after him.
I've
So-
got a moon named after you. Sasa, Sasa 2.
Oh my god. So Ron is feeling super overwhelmed, and he mentioned to Harry that maybe they should just, ask Hermione if she would let them look at what she's done for her homework. And so Harry looks over at her, and she's basically living her best life. She's having a great day. Says, quote, Harry glanced over at her. She was sitting with Crookshanks on her lap, chatting merrily to Ginny as a pair of knitting needles flashed in midair in front of her, now knitting a pair of shapeless elf socks. So Harry contemplates this, and he's like, no, she's not going to let us, especially with the way that, things went with the whole Quidditch practice talk. So they continue to work until the crowd in the common room dies down and the light outside becomes darker. Hermione finally comes over to them, and she began to look over their work, correcting Ron's work, and that made him snarl at her, which I think her intentions were nice. I don't
Yeah.
think she's going to go over there. I mean, she has the ability, believe me, to be sassy and, try and get a word in, because that's the thing that we always say, like, we love when she gets like fired up and stands up for herself. But I honestly think that she was coming over and just out of instincts was like, oh, should be this. So go ahead, Sasa.
That I would be like, that would tick me off if I was Ron.
Well,
Like,
he's
first of all, you don't
Ron.
want to help me at all, and now you're gonna come over here just to be like, that's wrong. Like, step off my cubes, all right? Like, don't talk to me.
Yeah, well, I mean, who knows if they would have asked her earlier if she would have helped or not.
But like,
But-
regardless, like, why are you coming over here and like trying to correct me? I don't know. That just
They're
would
best
irritate me.
friends. They're best friends. That's what
My
friends
friends.
do.
My
Yeah.
parents wouldn't do that because I'm smarter than all of them, so I would have the answer right.
Listen,
My God.
talk to me about moons later.
I got you, girl.
Ron says, quote, I haven't got time to listen to a sermon. All right, Hermione, I'm up to my neck in it here. No, look. Hermione was pointing at the nearest window. Harry and Ron both looked over, and a handsome screech owl was standing at the windowsill, gazing in the room at Ron. Isn't that Hermes? Said Hermione, sounding amazed.
All right, so Ron looks over at the quality bird and says, Blimey, it is. And he wonders what Percy is writing to him for. Hermione tells him to open it, and then the further down he reads, the more he scowls. And when he finishes, he looks disgusted, thrusts it at Harry and Hermione to read on their own. Which is, I think, the perfect reaction from Ron, because, like, he's reading it, like he took it and he read it before even showing them, and, like, he just gets aggravated on his own and is like, I can't even, like, read this out loud to you. Here. Like, read it. This is ridiculous. So I'm just going to read Percy's letter because it is an important one.
Oh, Percy. And let's all bear in mind that the man we know and love, Chris Rankin, is different from Percy Weasley.
Yes.
All right.
Jeez. Y'all, stop
Is
saying
he?
that he is Percy. He is not Percy. His name is Chris. And he is vastly different than the character that he portrayed.
Accurate.
Yeah.
Oh.
And I also want to preface this with Percy has a lot of issues that he needs to work through.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to recognize the fact that, like...
Get in line, sir.
He is making a huge mistake right now.
Yep.
But people make mistakes, and I just want to remind everybody that he ends up making the right decision. So we just have to remember that in the end, he gets there. It just takes him longer to get there than other people.
But in the end, it doesn't even matter.
It kind of matters, though.
But like, think of Ron, and, like, reading Ron in the first couple books at times can be super frustrating for me because he can be super close-minded, and he can be, he can look at things from one perspective because, like, that's how he was raised, and it's, you know, he's not getting into his own yet. And I feel like we see Ron's growth more because we are with him more because he's Harry's best friend. Whereas it's more difficult with Percy because he is a side character and we literally only get to see him when Harry's at the Burrow and Percy is there. During this letter, brief moments at Hogwarts, like, we don't know Percy at the end of the day, like, at all. We know a little teeny tiny tic-tac bit about Percy. So it's just really hard. It's hard sometimes to remember those things whenever you read something like this that is honestly really difficult to read because he's just not right. And he'll get there. But I get why it's frustrating to read this and be like, oh gosh, you're just such a jerk. I hate you. But like, you have to just take a step back and be like, he gets there. It's okay. He just takes longer. And he processes things different than his brothers. And again, at the end of the day, all that matters is he gets to the right place in the end. Mm-hmm. So, now that I said my little piece, I'm going to read Percy's letter.
Wait, I want to talk about him.
Oh, yeah, go ahead. Sorry, I have my letter up, so I couldn't see your video. Go for it.
I just think that, like, as of right now, you know, Percy's in the mindset of, and really, he's still young. He's still naive. Like, how long has he been outside of school? Like, he's probably, I don't think he's even 20 years old, right? Like, how old is he? Maybe
have,
20.
Like, just turned 20, possibly.
Yeah. That's
so
young.
Like, you know, at this point in time, Harry's kind of now seeing, like, how the people that he has been taught to think are always going to make the right choices aren't. So Harry's learning this lesson with, like, the government and Fudge and the papers, like, all doing things and basically making up lies because they don't want to talk about, like, what's really going on. So Harry's kind of seeing it where he's going through all of these things where, like, okay, just because Fudge is the Minister of Magic doesn't really mean he has everybody's, like, he doesn't have everybody's back. Where Percy doesn't see this thing. So he's still thinking, like, I can trust my government. I can trust what they're saying. I can trust all of these things that are happening because they're authority figures. And that's what he's been taught to learn.
Right.
Not to
he
say,
values
you know,
authority.
he is going against his parents. And, like, you know, that is probably a huge thing for him to, like, now all of a sudden, like, his parents are going against the thing that they were, like, have taught him, you know, that you should listen to your government. You should listen to the Minister of Magic. And now everything's divided. So just cut him some slack.
I think that with Percy, it's about the fact that he values authority and trusts authority. So like when he was at Hogwarts, he trusted and, you know, was fully all in with Dumbledore. But then as soon as he is out and about, his new authority figure is Fudge. So to him, Fudge is above Dumbledore because he's the Minister of Magic. So like what Fudge is saying should be true. And there was never a moment really prior to this where Fudge and Dumbledore weren't on the same page. Like this is the first, because I mean Fudge was going to Dumbledore for everything before this.
At least out in the open.
Correct.
Right.
But like to Percy, this is the first time where he has to like choose which authority he's listening to the most. And I think that he ends up choosing the minister because that's what he's surrounded by right now. He works there, that's his boss, he's in very close contact with him. So it would make sense that that's the person that he's going to believe. It's tricky, but that's,
There's
you know.
a lot of moving pieces.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so I'm just going to read word for word what his letter says to Ron. Dear Ron, I have only just heard from no less a person than the Minister of Magic himself, who has it from your new teacher, Professor Umbridge, that you have become a Hogwarts prefect. I was most pleasantly surprised. Yes.
That's some sneaky stuff on the part of Umbridge and Fudge.
Agreed.
To go
It's
to
their
Ron's
way.
brother,
Yeah.
to have him talk to Harry Potter's best friend.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're nasty. Go ahead, Megan.
You're nasty.
You nasty.
You nasty.
You're gross and you nasty.
I was most pleasantly surprised when I heard this news and must firstly offer my congratulations. I must admit that I have always been afraid that you would take what we might call the Fred and George route, rather than following in my footsteps. So you can imagine my feelings on hearing you have stopped flouting authority and have decided to shoulder some real responsibility.
How did Ron not stop reading right there?
That would have been difficult for
Right.
me. Especially because, like, Fred and George have plenty of responsibility, just in a different aspect
Right.
than Percy.
Right.
But Percy's very black and white at times. They're like, he does not see gray. So
Eventually.
eventually
Get
he
his
will.
vision checked.
Yeah.
But I want to give you more than congratulations, Ron. I want to give you some advice, which is why I'm sending this at night rather than by the usual morning post. Hopefully, you will be able to read this away from prying eyes and avoid awkward questions. From something the minister let slip when telling me you are now prefect, I gather that you are still seeing a lot of Harry Potter. I must tell you, Ron, that nothing could put you in danger of losing your badge more than continued fraternization with that boy. Yes, I am sure you are surprised to hear this. No doubt you will say that Potter has always been Dumbledore's favorite, but I feel bound to tell you that Dumbledore may not be in charge at Hogwarts much longer, and the people who count have a very different and probably more accurate view of Potter's behavior. I shall say no more here, but if you look at the Daily Prophet tomorrow, you will get a good idea of the way the wind is blowing, and see if you can spot yours truly. Seriously, Ron, you do not want to be tarred with the same brush as Potter. It could be very damaging to your future prospects, and I am talking here about life after school, too. As you must be aware, given that our father escorted him to court, Potter had a disciplinary hearing this summer in front of the whole Wizengamot, and he did not come out of it looking too good. He got off on a mere technicality, if you ask me, and many of the people I've spoken to remain convinced of his guilt. It may be that you are afraid to sever ties with Potter. I know that he can be unbalanced and, for all I know, violent. But if you have any worries about this, or have spotted anything else in Potter's behavior that is troubling you, I urge you to speak to Dolores Umbridge, a really delightful woman, who I know will only be too happy to advise you. This leads me to my other bit of advice. As I have hinted above, Dumbledore's regime at Hogwarts may soon be over. Your loyalty, Ron, should be not to him, but to the school and the ministry. I am very sorry to hear that so far Professor Umbridge is encountering very little cooperation from staff as she strives to make those necessary changes within Hogwarts that the ministry so ardently desires, although she should find this easier from next week. Again, see the prophet tomorrow. I shall say only this. A student who shows himself willing to help Professor Umbridge now may be very well placed for head boyship in a couple of years. I am sorry that I was unable to see more of you over the summer. It pains me to criticize our parents, but I'm afraid I can no longer live under their roof while they remain mixed up with the dangerous crowd around Dumbledore. If you are writing to Mother at any point, you might tell her that a certain Sturgis Podmore, who's a great friend of Dumbledore's, has recently been sent to Azkaban for trespass at the Ministry. Perhaps that will open her eyes to the kind of petty criminals with whom they are currently rubbing shoulders. I count myself very lucky to have escaped the stigma of association with such people. The minister really could not be more gracious to me, and I do hope, Ron, that you will not allow family ties to blind you to the misguided nature of our parents' beliefs and actions either. I sincerely hope that, in time, they will realize how mistaken they were, and I shall, of course, be ready to accept a full apology when that day comes. Please think over what I have said most carefully, particularly the bit about Harry Potter, and congratulations again on becoming prefect. Your brother, Percy. So, a couple things. Well, first of all, I just think it's funny that Harry says, well, if you want to sever ties with me, I swear I won't get violent. Which is funny. But then Ron says, give it back, holding out his hand. He is, Ron said jerkily, tearing Percy's letter in half. The world's, he tore it into quarters. Biggest, he tore it into eighths. Get. And then he threw the pieces into the fire. So just to, like, break down the letter a little bit more, I think that it's important to note that, like, clearly he is fully 100% influenced by the minister in all aspects of this letter. So he's clearly hinting at the fact that Umbridge is going to be getting more power here shortly, and that is going to be through the announcement of her becoming High Inquisitor. I almost kind of wonder as well if he knows that they are leading up to her becoming headmistress. I feel like he knows
course.
that.
Yeah.
And then about Harry. So, like, Harry having the disciplinary hearing, in Fudge's eyes, he refuses to believe that the Dementors disobeyed him. So that is why he's telling himself that it's a lie, because he didn't tell the Dementors to go and attack Harry. So clearly it's a lie because they only listened to him. So he's just being naive in the fact that, like, there are other forces out there, you know?
And her name is Umbridge.
Right? Which is crazy. But
yeah.
Anyway, because, like, for the longest time you think, oh, well, Voldemort did it. It's like,
right.
No, that was Umbridge, purely just because she is not a
wanted
kind person.
him not there. Somebody had to take care of you, so I was going to do it myself.
Right.
Ugh.
So, and then how he's saying that, like, I'm sure that you might be afraid to sever ties with Harry. Like, he could be violent. He's unbalanced. Again, like, these are all talking points by Fudge that they have been, like, putting in the prophet all summer, right? He's unbalanced. He isn't mentally there. He is seeing things. He is lying. He's wants attention. Like, all of these things. And again, like, that's just Fudge's way to cope with the truth. Like, deep down, Fudge, he has to know deep down that something is happening. But this is just him dealing with it.
Right.
So, of course, like, if Fudge is trying to deal with it, he's going to spill all of this Bob Shorts to everybody around him. And who better than his, like, personal assistant, right? So, like, of course he's gonna tell Percy all of this. On top of that, we've kind of already discovered that, like, he promoted Percy so that he would kind of have a link to the Weasley family, right? So it was kind of his way to, like, well, maybe if I, like, spew all of this to Percy, he'll put it through to his family and, like, I'll have them on my side. But, like, that doesn't happen.
Right.
So
Or he's
Again,
literally just using Percy because it's like a link that he could get in through to Harry Potter.
Which is exactly
terrible.
what is happening here.
Right.
I mean,
To make him alone.
right. He's hoping that Percy will reach out to his brother, who will tell Umbridge any secrets about Harry, and that can be reported back to him.
I could even see Fudge being like, I know your one brother is pretty close to Harry. Like, he might have just planted the
You
seed
might
in
want
his
to,
head.
I want to reach out
And
to him.
also, I have beef with Sturgis going to Azkaban
Correct.
for trespassing, and then in the next breath, Percy calls him a petty criminal. Why are petty criminals going to Azkaban? You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
But-
That happens in
Bananas.
real life, though.
I know.
There are people
Yeah, it's
that
insane.
are put in jail for years for things that's, it's just, the
Yeah.
criminal justice system needs revision.
Agreed.
Yeah, it does.
You know.
But that's another conversation. But, and then, like, telling Ron where his loyalty should lie, and, like, this is all just Percy spewing talking points of Fudge's, exactly what Fudge wants him to do, and, like, unfortunately, at this moment in Percy's life, he's a follower. So he's decided to follow Fudge, and that is what he's decided to do. And thankfully, he ends up opening his eyes later, but, like, this is what happens with corruption in, like, all different types of ways. Like, this right here is the perfect example of a corrupt government who's using an assistant to try to get information on somebody. Like,
Well, because they know that he is, Percy strives, right? Because I kind of accepted his headcanon too, as we've discussed with Chris. Like, he's got middle child syndrome. Like,
For
he
sure.
has to work harder. So Percy strives to be a good student, strives to be the good older brother, strives to be who his mom sees him as.
so, like,
You're prying on that.
right, and, like,
Oh.
what's the word I'm looking for? But, like, it is, oh my god, I'm blanking. Textbook. It is textbook that Percy is going to, follow everything that Fudge wants, because, again, he is striving to do the best that he can in his job, and I'm sure that Fudge sees that, so he's prying? No, he's manipulating him to get more out of him, because he knows that, like, that is textbook Percy. You know what I mean?
And also, if we think about the way that Percy was raised, we have to come back, and not saying anything against this, but this is just understanding characters. The way that Molly spoke within their household about, what was good to do with your life, Percy really took that to heart, and I believe that he thought that he was doing what Molly wanted him to do, what his mother wanted him to do, was
Go work at the
to
ministry.
make something of himself,
Yeah.
working at the Ministry of Magic. It's prestigious. It shows that, he is doing something with his life, and it's literally been ingrained in him. And unfortunately, I think this is a little bit of a headcanon for me. Don't get mad at me, anyone, but I think Molly oftentimes was a little bit disappointed in Arthur in his role there, and thought that he could do more, which maybe is something that Percy picked up on within the household, which gave him his own set of ideas of what he should be when he was older and an adult wizard, and also with how he felt about his dad.
Yeah.
I could see why you would say that, but I don't think Molly thinks that way. I think Percy thinks that way himself. I think that if there were other circumstances, like if Voldemort hadn't come back, whatever, like Molly would have been thrilled. Like both of his parents would have been thrilled that he's now he obviously probably wouldn't have been the undersecretary or whatever he is to Fudge if he wasn't trying to manipulate him. But I think that, like, what Arthur does, and I found the reason he stays in the job that he stays in, he doesn't have a lot of money, is because he loves what he does. Like, he loves his job, and he loves working with, like, muggle things. And I think that Molly, it's one of the things she loves about him, is that he just loves what he does, and he loves his family. And I think that Percy has his own insecurities because of he wants better and he thinks his dad's not good enough, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
I hear you. Yeah, I agree, Sarah.
Yeah. I can see it in both directions. Like,
Who are you, me?
I mean, even if it's something that's not vocalized, you can
Right.
often pick up on, looks and things like that, and the way that she would get upset, like the flying car, for example. That was like a whole thing. So
Yeah.
it's just, you just have to make up your own mind about it. Essentially, like you have to come up with your own headcanon about it. And that's all that we can really do. Because like you said earlier, Megan, we don't really know Percy.
yeah.
All we can do is try and match up puzzle pieces.
Yeah, for sure. I think that I can definitely see him kind of coming to that conclusion on his own and possibly like misreading cues from Molly, maybe. Because I've like Molly and Arthur. I'm sorry, my cat is.
That is
super,
one loud kitty cat.
Molly and Arthur are definitely like, I feel like they're a couple that's always supportive of each other, and I'm sure that Arthur would have had conversations with Molly being like, are you sure you're okay with me staying where I am because I really enjoy what I do, or something like that. And she, they both make decisions like
Yeah,
Arthur.
You can be
Arthur's
supportive and still not agree.
true.
You know what
True.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think that, she wanted what was best for him, and what's best for him is what made him happy. It's not what put gold in his pockets, So that's why she loves him and why she was, there for him, even though make up your own mind whether she agreed with it or not.
Yeah.
I think with Percy, though, like, having a dad that obviously, like, he's doing things that are illegal, like having the car, like, that's legal. I think those are things that he himself, like, not his mom or not, like, probably other people's perspective of his family, but I think seeing those things, because he's very much, like, it's right or it's wrong, it's black or it's white, like Megan said, like, he doesn't really see gray. So, like, yeah, was it? I mean, it's illegal. Like, what the car was illegal. So, like, if he was just driving it around and not flying it around, it would have been fine. But like, he would always think like, we shouldn't have this car. We shouldn't do that. Yada da da.
It's Fred George right there. I'm telling you that much.
Percy's a very follow the rules type of person, and
Yes.
Yeah.
honestly, it's kind of funny because like he really is the only one in his family that's like that, and maybe there's a reason for that. Like maybe he feels like that's his way to be different.
Yeah.
And that's his way to stick out amongst all of his family.
Maybe.
Yep.
And because like Charlie and Bill, like I guess was it Bill that was head boy? I think. So like Bill like maybe was a rule follower, but he seemed like he kind of reminded me of like a Remus type of person where like he
Yeah.
you know what I
Maybe
mean?
he was
Like
just
Got long hair
responsible.
and earring.
like he was responsible, but he
Let it
didn't
go.
necessarily
Yeah.
like he definitely probably took advantage of some of like the loopholes, kind of like what
Yeah.
Arthur does, you know?
Or
Like
let
Arthur
some
built
people
the
slide.
car.
Yeah.
But like Arthur built the car, but he never had an intention to fly it, so that was allowed, you know? Like I kind of feel like Arthur and Bill are similar in that sense. This is purely speculation because honestly we don't really know Bill. This is just me talking out loud, but like I feel like that was Percy's way to just be completely different from his family, and he grasped onto that.
And I think with Percy, like we talked with Chris and he was saying like, if you really think about it, like I think that, is he the middle child? No, technically not, but like he has to work really hard. Like you always see him studying and you always see him like trying to be like the best, I'm not breaking any rules kind of thing, where he probably resents like, it seems that all of those things come easier for his siblings. You know what I mean? Like it seems like Bill and Charlie like were just, you know, themselves. Like they, you know, and we don't really know a whole ton about them, but like Fred and George don't care what people really think. Like they're just going to do what they want. They obviously like, not that they don't care what their mother thinks, but they know what they want and they go for it regardless of what she thinks. And then there's Ron, who like does the same thing, but like also does care what his mom thinks. And it's an interesting dynamic to see like how different all of the siblings are from each other. And I think that maybe it's one of those situations where he's like, well, I wish I was more like this brother, you know what I mean? Or like Ginny, maybe like, oh, I don't think he wants, but stuff like that.
Yeah.
He thinks they have it easier, maybe.
And like, if you think about it, Fred and George, like, they never failed any classes and they barely tried. Like, they really were smart guys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, first of all, to invent those things, you have to be insanely smart to come up with all of those ideas and execute them and then mass produce them and sell them. Like,
and run a business and have a shop. Like,
yeah. And then like Ron,
no slouches.
Like, even though a lot of the times Ron also, I feel like, suffers from middle child syndrome, he at least is best friends with Harry Potter. So, like, he's known, right? I mean, like, sure, it's not always nice to just be known as Harry Potter's best friend, but, like, he's going to be something because, like, he'll have Harry there along the way, and, like, Harry is bound to become something. You know what I mean?
But Ron in and of himself is like a great guy, like regardless of being friends with Harry Potter, like
for sure
he's smart enough to pass his classes. The number one thing that Ron lacks is confidence. If he was more confident in himself, he would be a phenomenal Quidditch player. He'd be able to like just be like probably the better version of himself, which is true for a lot of people.
Yep.
Just be more confident. You're great the way you are.
Agreed.
And then there's Ginny, who's just like Ginny, and she's cool, Yep.
Also
talented and smart.
And super fiery.
When did this turn into the Weasley's Felix File?
You know?
I'm down with it.
Let's
go for it, Kate. Go on.
Yeah.
Okay. So Ron, after he tears up that letter, he's like, come on, like, we got all this homework to finish sometime before dawn. And Hermione's looking at him with this odd expression on her face, and then she bursts out, oh, give them here. And she's like, I'll look through them and I'll correct them for you. And Ron's like, you're a lifesaver. Whatever can I do? And she's like, what you can say is, we promise we'll never leave our homework this late again. But she looks slightly amused. I think she knows that that's going to happen again. Yes, Tiffany?
I was reading along with what you were reading, and I thought you wrote that Ron gave her a lifesaver, like a candy.
Which kind? The fruit kind or the mint kind?
Fruit always, Kate.
Oh, no, wait, mint.
Mint.
Wintergreen.
Wintergreen is
Wintergreen.
Yeah. I always smell them to make sure it's the wintergreen one.
Yep. I don't want no spearmint. Wintergreen. Peppermint. A little strong.
I do like the dark red cherry ones. I think they're cherry, but the darker red ones, those are my favorite.
I have never even heard of that.
Fruit.
Lifesavers, please sponsor.
You just said the fruit-flavored Lifesavers.
Oh, I thought you were talking that there was a mint one with cherry.
No, it just was a dark red, the fruit one. I only eat those.
Got it. You're a cherry picker. Literally.
And I don't like real cherries. Isn't that interesting?
I don't either.
I used to not like real watermelon and only like fake candy flavored watermelon. I've seen the light. Don't worry.
It's one of the best things to eat in the summer because they say you should eat your water. So like eat fruits and stuff that have a lot of water in them in the summer to keep you hydrated.
Well, now I know it's delicious. It's okay.
So good.
Anyway,
I made her see the goodness of watermelon.
It took a while. So it was past midnight, and it's just the three of them and Crookshanks sitting in the common room. They're the only ones left. The only sound is Hermione's quill scratching on the parchment and her turning pages looking things up. And Harry's sitting there thinking, as he usually does. And he's just straight up exhausted. He thinks he's got this odd, sick, sort of empty feeling in his stomach. And it doesn't have anything to do with being tired or all the stuff he has to do. But it had to do with the letter that was now burning up in the fire. So he's thinking, I know like half, if not more, of Hogwarts thinks I'm totally insane. I know the Daily Prophet has been writing these remarks about me literally all summer and more. But seeing it written there in Percy's handwriting, someone who he's spent time with, he's spent time at his house with. Just last year, he got top marks from him at one of the tasks for the Triwizard Tournament.
Yeah.
Like, seeing that and then knowing that Percy was telling Ron to not be friends with him and even to tattle on him to Umbridge, like, that made the situation more real to him than anything else so far had. Which I feel really sad because, like, I think we've all had a moment relatable to that, you know, and obviously a drastically different situation, but some things just make things feel much more real.
Yeah.
So now this person who he could consider almost a brother, maybe, because he's pretty close to the Weasleys, now thinks that he's unbalanced and violent. So he suddenly feels pretty sympathetic for Sirius, because Sirius is the only one that could really understand what he's feeling right now. Everyone thinks Sirius is this dangerous murderer who's this Voldemort supporter. And speaking of Sirius, he stops thinking really quick, and he thinks he sees something in the fire, and he's like, no, I was just thinking about Sirius, so I just imagined it. So Hermione gives Ron back his essay and tells him to copy something down, and this is one of the best quotes ever. He's like, Hermione, you are honestly the most wonderful person I've ever met, said Ron weakly. And if I'm ever rude to you again, and Hermione goes, I know you'll be back to normal.
I love how he said it weakly. Like, he is done.
Right,
like,
right.
Boyfriend is done. He is, poor guy.
So she goes
God
to tell...
bless Hermione.
I know. So she goes to tell Harry that he wrote that one of Jupiter's moons had mice instead of ice. But he's not...
We don't know.
Yeah, you don't know. One of those 26 unnamed ones or whatever. But he's not paying attention. He's actually, like, on the floor on his knees in front of the fire, and Ron's like, what are you doing? Although by now, after 5 years of friendship, this probably isn't really that weird of a thing for Harry Potter to do.
Yeah.
But Harry's like, I just saw Sirius's head in the fire. And Hermione's like, wait, what do you mean? Like how you saw him in the Triwizard Tournament? He wouldn't do that right now. It would be way too... She's gonna say dangerous, but surprise! There's Sirius. Head in the fire.
Up?
What up, Sirius?
Are we ready?
Yeah.
So ready.
Are you
Tiffany?
awake?
I'm awake. I did take a nap today, I will say that.
Pause in history. And plus you glitched a little bit, so it was like...
Yeah, you know me, Glitch City over here.
Your internet is fantastic.
You're like Vanellope von Schweetz.
Well, on Thursdays, my family prays the rosary over Zoom. So in order to save myself, I have to put myself on my own hotspot, which isn't that much better than the internet. But otherwise, like, you guys are frozen for a full, like, long time earlier.
Full long time.
Yeah. Yeah. Hold on, I just gotta rearrange myself. So, so Harry's obviously pretty sure that he saw Sirius's head in the fire, as Katie was saying, and it is him. And I said, he's sitting in his head is, like, sitting in the flames, not like they did it in the movies, which, like, one was cooler to me than the other, but also hot because it's a fire. But I think it would have been cool to see, like, their actual heads when they did this. Well, you really only ever see him, I think.
Yeah.
In the movies.
Yeah.
Anyways, so Sirius tells him that he had been checking every hour, hoping to get them alone, and was starting to think that they would go to bed before everyone else. And they were like, what? He's like, well, he's checking to see if the coast is clear. He's also pretty sure that a girl, probably a first year, saw him, but he was gone before she could really get a good look. So, he's probably like a wonky log or something, is roughly what he tells them. And then Hermione comments on his risky choices. And that basically reminds him of Molly, because she said things about him going to the, I want to call it the track, and that's what it's called, to see him off on the train. But he needed to talk to Harry about the letter that Harry sent, without having to use code, because, that can be broken, blah, 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 blah. Harry's not that that, like, people can crack his code, just saying that. And then they're shocked to learn, because Harry did not mention to Hermione that he had sent a letter. And he had actually forgotten, because he's like, oh, I forgot. Genuinely, he did, because, you know, he got to talk to Cho Chang for a while in the Owlery. So, like, you know.
I love how your voice
cute.
changes with Cho Chang. Also thought you said Hermione on accident, and then I, like, whipped around and looked at your text, and I was like, no, she wrote it.
No, yeah. I didn't feel like saying their full names separately.
You're fine.
And
I don't hate it.
I'm not the one that called, like, that's their ship name.
I know.
But I spelled it incorrectly, and so I had to Google it to make sure I spelled it correctly. So the first one I did was actually Remus and Hermione. I was like, oh no, that's not who I'm talking about.
No.
So, but there wasn't anyone that could have broken the code, right? He would ask. And then, probably not, you know, it was all right.
No.
So then they start talking kind of about Harry's scar hurting, because that was the original reason that Harry had sent the letter in the first place. You know, and it might not really have meant much other than the fact that it probably Voldemort's feelings involved with hurting it some more. He might have been really angry that night. You know, they might have gotten his hot pocket might have been too hot in some spots and too cold in other spots. And he got really angry.
Jeez.
I don't know why I went there, but it makes me really laugh.
You're so
Basically, yeah. And he also says, you know, now that he's fully back again, Voldy's back. Don't tell anybody is what they really want. Voldemort doesn't want anyone to know. It's most likely going to hurt more than it has in the past, because he's like a human now. To be human again. To be human again. Look at me. All kinds of songs. And then Sirius says, like, it also they don't think that it has anything to do with Umbridge and her being a super, super unkind human being. He also states he's pretty sure that she's not a Voldemort, a Death Eater. And he says, Harry's like, well, but she's pretty horrible. He says, yes, but the world isn't split into good people and Death Eaters. Word. I know she's a nasty piece of work, though. You should hear Remus talk about her. And they're like, oh, has Remus met her? Like, does he know her? Are they, like, best friends? No, because she has no friends because nobody likes her. Remus has not met her. But he doesn't like her because she drafted an anti-werewolf legislation a few years back that basically makes it impossible for him to get a job because she's a horrible person who's racist.
You're trash.
She's just, you know, one of those people that hates everybody. And so obviously Hermione is not into this kind of thing. So she is furious. Just furious. And I wrote, she's not pleased with this, and rightly so. It's messed up. So I want to read, because they're like, why would, Harry's like, what does she got against werewolves? And Sirius says, scared of them, I expect. Apparently she loathes part humans. She campaigned to have mer people rounded up and tagged last year, too. Imagine wasting your time and energy persecuting mer people when there are little toe rags like Creature on the loose. Now, the last part of that, like the only person that really doesn't like Creature, I mean, there's a lot of people, but like if you treated him nice, you see later on that like he'd be a great dude. But
He'll
like
cook you food and everything and be nice.
You're like, why bother rounding up mer people and tagging them? Like, what is this gonna do? Why are you wasting time and money on that? That's dumb. Also, don't hate people for the way they are. It's just, why are you wasting your energy on hating anything? Hating something is a waste of time, except hating hate, because it's dumb.
Yes.
It's dumb.
Hashtag hate.
I could talk about it more, but that's not this episode. Any whoosies, again, Hermione is not pleased with Sirius talking about Creature like that, and kind of tells him, you know, if you treated Creature better, he would probably respond better and be nicer to you. But Sirius isn't hearing it. He interrupts her, changing the subject by asking about Umbridge's lessons. So they tell him, you know, they aren't really allowed to use magic at all in her class. All they do is read a textbook, which makes me want to die. Like if I had to go to a class and that's what I had to do the whole time, I would skip class. Like I don't care. I'm not reading it. Don't be like me. I don't read textbooks for classes. I didn't know my friends did it. Like Jen was like, yeah, I always read before classes. I was like, I never did. Don't do what I do. But I still got good grades. Unless I didn't do my homework, but that's a whole other issue.
Sarah.
Again, do your homework. So that makes sense according to their ministry informant. This is what Sirius is telling them. Fudge doesn't want them to be trained in combat. And they're like, why? Like, whatever. And it's like, it's not like they're like, this is what they said. They're not planning on forming a wizarding army. But Sirius is like, no, that's exactly what Fudge thinks that Dumbledore is doing. And this is how self-centered and important Fudge thinks he is. Honey, you're not important. You are replaceable in a freaking heartbeat.
Honey?
Ugh. It's just so aggravating.
To the left, you know?
Things I want to say that, like, I won't. But anyways.
But honestly, like, thanks for the idea, Fudge.
Right?
Well, certain. Correct. But, you know, that's Fudge is thinking that Dumbledore is forming his own private army so he can take on the Ministry of Magic. You are so dumb. Like, it makes me so angry because...
Paranoia, for sure.
You are not that important. You're just afraid of losing your job, which you're going to lose anyways because you're failing every single person that looks to the Ministry because they're a witch or a wizard. You're failing every single person by ignoring the fact that Voldemort is back. Mm-hmm. And yeah, you lose your job because of it, and then we don't hear from you. You're probably dead. I don't know. But majority of it's your fault. So I said, not only is it not Dumbledore who is, or would do that, because Dumbledore doesn't care about your stupid job. He's smarter, better, and just, like, greater than you, so why would he want to be minister?
There's a lot happening right now.
But it would be Voldemort who would be the one doing that. Because really, it's one of his goals to have, like, basically, like, him/his people take over the Ministry.
I mean, if you really think about it, though, essentially, like they say in 7, Voldemort is the Minister of Magic right now, pretty much.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like, that's his goal. Like,
Yep.
not his main goal, but that's one of his goals, is to have control over the Ministry. And when it falls, he does. Like,
Fudge is just another puppet right now.
Correct.
Yep.
He's dumb. I don't care for him.
Very smart on Voldemort's part, though.
Yeah.
Voldemort doesn't get to do anything. That's the thing. It's just dumb on the lack of what is the word I'm looking for? The lack of, like, doing anything. Like, they're literally not doing anything. Fudge and the Ministry, and that's opening them for not even a swift attack, but, like, they're slowly gaining more people and being able to infiltrate them, and they're gonna get thrown over. Whatever. And then, quote, because Ron says, it's the stupidest thing I've heard, including all of the stuff that Luna Lovegood comes out with. Like, which is true. The stupid part is that Dumbledore would want to, like, if he's building an army, it's not to fight you, Fudge. You're not that important. Move aside. Just saying. So I want to read from the book again.
This episode should be called whatever.
So we're being prevented from learning defense against the dark arts because Fudge is scared we'll use spells against the Ministry, said Hermione, looking furious. Yep, said Sirius. Fudge thinks Dumbledore will stop at nothing to seize power. He's getting more paranoid about Dumbledore by the day. It's a matter of time before he has Dumbledore arrested on some trumped-up charge. Which does happen, but, like, again, Fudge, please hear me clearly because I know you listen. You were not and never were that important. Thank you, goodbye. So then, like, Harry remembers the letter that Percy sent. So then he asks Sirius if there's anything coming out in the about Dumbledore in the paper the next day. Yeah, Megan.
I was just going to say that if there's anybody to be annoyed with in this chapter, it's not Percy, it's Fudge.
Right.
I think you could say, like, the whole book, you can boil it down to Fudge and Umbridge both being dumb humans.
Yeah.
Umbridge.
That need to get... So Sirius has not heard anything. So he's like, I don't know. I haven't heard from the Order all weekend. And you could tell that the way he's saying this is like how we're all feeling in this quarantine. Because he said he's been alone in the house. It was just him and Creature all weekend long. You know, they're all busy and I'm stuck here. And he said they're talking about the Hagrid and that the only news about him is the fact that he was supposed to be back by now, but Dumbledore isn't worried. And so he tells them that they shouldn't be either. And then we learned that Madame Maxime was with him, but they had parted ways, like to go home, basically. But there isn't anything to indicate that he has been hurt or anything. So, like, don't worry. And he also tells them to not ask too many questions about Hagrid because it will bring more attention to the fact that he isn't at school.
Good point.
And then he kind of changes the subject again, and he asks them about their next Hogsmeade weekend. I almost said Hogwarts weekend. Every weekend's a Hogwarts weekend. Because he's thinking about coming and visiting them. But, like, both Harry and Hermione, like, at the same time vehemently tell him no. And they're like, haven't he seen the prophet? And Harry and Hermione think that they actually, like, they being, like, the public, because they reported that he's back in London, he was seen, and he's like, they don't know anything. They're like, no, really, like, we think that they do know the fact that you're an animagus. I'm pretty sure Pettigrew told them. Like, right. They think, like, we know that, like, this is probably correct information because of, like, stuff that Draco was saying on the train. Mm-hmm. And we're sure that Lucius knew that you're an animagus and saw you and told the peeps. And if you came, like, Draco would recognize you right away, and then, like, it would be known that, like, you're still, like, around here, whatever. Yeah. And, like, Sirius is, like, upset about it. He goes, well, if you don't want me to, like, come, then, you know, whatever. Because Harry's like, I just want you to be safe. He's like, I get the point. He's like, I just thought they would want to spend some time together. And Harry's like, I do. I really want to spend time with you, but it's not worth going back to Azkaban over.
Yeah.
At least Sirius saying, you're less like your father than I thought. And this is, like, one of the times where I think that his immaturity comes out because, like, yeah. You're in your 30s and you're saying this to, like, a 15-year-old kid. Mm-hmm. And so he's like, you're less like your father than I thought. The risk would have made it fun for James. But, like, I think if James is in the same situation, I don't know. I think he would have been like, you're not coming. But because he says it with, like, a lot of coolness in his voice. And this is something that probably, like, hurt Harry a lot to hear him say that. And he doesn't really know his dad, and so he likes to think, like, that I don't know. It's just, like, a very immature thing to say. But again, he is hurt, and he's been stuck in the house for months now.
Yeah.
And
right after being stuck in Azkaban.
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't really gotten to live a life in however many years it's been, 14 years. So it's rough. So then that kind of shuts down the conversation. So with that, he tells them that he should go because he hears Creature, but he'll write to them when he can, like, basically give them a time when they can have another fireside chat again. And he adds if they can stand to risk it, because he's serious and he's mad. Well, I wouldn't say he's mad. I think he's upset. And then with a pop, he's gone from the flames.
I think he's more so just, like, being pouty, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
but, like, you know that hit Harry right in the heart. That sucks,
well, that's
man.
probably why he said it. Sometimes people speak off the cuff like that because they know it's going to get an emotional reaction out of someone.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm like that. I know what to say to make people, like, angry. Like, so when we're fighting, like, I'm probably going to just say this. I don't do this. I try not to do this anymore. And I actually haven't had to fight with someone in a long time. But, like, when my sister and I were younger and we'd fight, I would purposely say things to hurt her because I am that human. Don't do that. I don't do that now.
It's so mean.
Yeah.
Oh.
She's also, it's not like she's not saying mean things to me, but I've grown up. I'm nicer now.
Good. You better be nicer. You tell people to be nice humans. You take your own advice, ma'am.
Be a kind
Just
human.
very nice.
Yeah. I mean, we'll have to redo a series because we did Sirius's Felix File already. I mean, and like I've said it before, like we'll have to redo them all, especially with coming out of the books fresh like this and finding why, like, people are the way they are and what makes them tick is honestly, it's been one of the most enjoyable things about doing this podcast is understanding the characters more.
Yeah.
Because it's not like I'm reading it as a kid, and as a kid I'm like, gosh, I don't like Percy.
Right.
And now reading it as an adult, even doing this, the dissecting in this reread, you know, I've reread them as an adult before, but now I'm like really starting to like think about the way that people work, and so it's just been really awesome this time around. Good thing I'm recording it.
All
Okay.
right. It's time for those lightning bolt round questions.
Tell me.
I'm gonna ask this
Or
one
ask
because
me.
it's up on the screen and it's gonna go away soon. So Jess asks,
Oh, God.
what was your AIM username?
Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Cheer Tiffy Ray 06.
That just makes you think of your friends. Well, I don't know if that was his Anna profile, but
It was.
hilarious.
Sarah, what was yours?
The one that I used the most, I think, was the one that I remember the most was Ringlets 411, but it was spelled incorrectly. So it was WRINGLETS 411. But I don't know if that was like my main one. That's just one I can remember. I made one that was called Celtic Storm. It was towards the very end of me even using them. And I had a friend that made one. We got in a fight because of it, because it was supposed to be above average, but I told her it looked like a beverage, because it did. Like, she took like some of the vowels out, and I was like, it looks like it looks like a beverage, and she got real angry with me. And she's like, well, yours is stupid, and I was like, yeah, you're not wrong. All of these are dumb.
Oh, God.
All of these are dumb.
You want me
Yeah.
to go next?
Sure.
Mine was Rupert's Girl 77. Girl spelled with a U.
Oh!
I don't know did I ever have curls 411? Was that one of them, or was it just ringlets?
I think you had curls.
Curls for sure.
Did I?
I think in high school. I feel like that was the one that you put the stapler thing. I feel like it was curls
so we
411.
French together.
Yeah.
And we, because we were, we just thought that one was so funny. I believe you have my stapler. And we asked our French teacher to write it out basically in French, and so we put it in our AIM profile. So it said, "I believe you have my stapler" in French in our profile.
You're out of your mind.
I remember spending, and I'm not exaggerating when I said copious amounts of hours on AIM away profile sites, finding good away messages to put. Like, I would be on there, but I would have the away message up.
Oh, yeah. Me too.
Pretending that you're living a cool life when you're really not.
Yeah.
After, and sometimes I would change them, like, throughout, like, my hours on the internet reading these away messages.
You are so
So good.
Oh, my God. Memories, man. Memories.
Katie, what was yours?
My first one ever was Bug 101190, because my nickname as a kid was Bug, and then that was my birthday. But then after that, I can't remember what my
change your
AIM
birthday?
one was.
Did you change your birthday?
Yeah, I changed my birthday. But my Yahoo one was Skellington Snog Session.
It was. It was.
I want that on a shirt. I met Skellington Snog Session.
I don't think I made the first one for like 2 hours before I was told to change it, because I was like 13 or something, young, and it was red hot hottie. My dad's like, "Yep, you're changing that."
So good.
Okay.
All right, next question comes from Kelly, and she asks, do you think Percy would have fit in to Slytherin because he is so ambitious? I feel like we have talked about this at length, but maybe quick recap answers. Mine's a hard no.
I like him as a Griff.
Gryffindor. He's a
I think he
Gryffindor.
deserves to be a Gryffindor.
Yeah.
I don't want to say that he's like a pedigree Gryffindor, but like more on the lines of like,
Protecting yourself-ish. Gryffindor.
But he's brave
Yeah.
for like.
Oh yeah.
No, it's not brave. I
No,
think that
yeah.
there's things that Pettigrew has done that are
Oh,
aren't.
for sure.
Some of them are good, and some of them aren't.
Yeah.
It's like it's brave to like.
Go against your
I don't know.
family.
Go against your family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was brave of Pettigrew to like go against all of his friends for years. You know what I mean?
I also
he's
feel
also a
as
coward.
if Percy values like
Yeah.
Gryffindor traits over
Pride.
Slytherin traits. Pride, for sure, is a Gryffindor trait.
What?
Just saying.
Yeah.
Well, I'm proud.
All right, next up comes from Courtney. This is kind of the same question, but like in a different context. So she asks, do you think Percy chose Gryffindor instead of Slytherin when he was sorted to please his parents?
No, I think he was chosen.
I don't think it works. I don't think the hat works like that to please someone else. No,
Yeah,
this is
I
about
agree.
what you want.
Right.
Yeah.
I like that too.
I agree. Okay, Sarah asks, different Sarah, not Sarah O'Malley.
No, I don't.
How did Umbridge persuade the Dementors to attack Harry? What did she promise
I don't
them?
think she
Why
did.
did they listen to her?
I mean, evil.
They were
listens
getting a
to
soul.
evil.
They were getting a soul. They don't
Yeah.
care.
I think that they
And
just
not
saw...
even one. They got like 1.5 souls. 2.5, really, if you think about Dudley.
Yeah, and I think that they viewed her as a high-ranking ministry official, and they listened to her. And
They were
that's-
on edge. I mean,
Yeah.
all think about their purpose, okay? You don't have to tell them twice. If you snap your fingers and say, "Go get this person," they're like,
Yeah, they were
"I-
gonna do it. They don't
I-
care.
Bye.
You know
Like,
how-
I'm gonna go.
You know how Harry can feel other Horcruxes, and other Horcruxes react to him as well? Evil will react to other evil.
Yep,
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yep.
I agree.
Yeah, man.
Carly asks, would the Weasleys be financially comfortable without their kids, or does Arthur's job just pay that low? I mean, 7 kids is a lot of kids.
Kids are not cheap.
Yeah.
But
Uh-oh.
school is free, but all the other stuff that goes with it is not. So I think that if they didn't have kids, yeah, they'd have a lot more money.
I think
Yeah.
they'd be all right. I don't think that they
Yeah.
would be like super comfortable, but they'd be okay.
I
I
agree.
think they'd be comfortable.
Yeah.
But I would rather, I don't know, I think that they have a great life. Like the kids, yeah, so what, you have to use hand-me-downs? I had to use hand-me-downs. I still have hand-me-downs. There's nothing wrong with that.
Same.
Honestly, it's better for the environment.
It is.
It is. And
It
I'm
is
like,
better for the environment.
better for the environment. And I'm like, they come from a loving family, and not everyone has that. You know, look at Harry.
They're rich in
He does
other
not
things.
come-
Yes.
Yeah.
It just threw me off. Where you're like, it's better for the environment. I wasn't
No,
expecting it.
it is.
I'm not saying it's not. It just threw me off.
Next question is from Vinny. What do you think is the call etiquette of a fireside chat?
There is none. I don't think they have an etiquette for it. People are just popping out of fires willy-nilly.
What if you were in a compromising position right in front of your fire? And your in-laws are calling, hey,
What
Ma!
if- What if you
Aw.
don't stick your whole head through? You just like start with your lips so you can speak out of their fire, and you're like, "Yo,
Well,
I was thinking, like,
wanna
what if
talk?"
you moon people through the fire?
What if what?
You could moon people through the fire. I would totally do
Oh.
that.
You are out of your mind.
well, I was gonna say, like, there clearly isn't any etiquette because, like, Umbridge does come into their conversation at some point in the future, doesn't she? She, like,
Yeah.
Perhaps I just had-
Spoiler.
It's different because they're at Hogwarts? Or do you think it's
Maybe.
like, you know, if I'm calling into, like, a house that has more than one fireplace,
No, well,
like,
well, you have to think about when Harry breaks into Umbridge's office later. All he does is throw the flue powder in the fire and sticks his head through. He doesn't do anything else, and he just yells.
Right.
And Lupin happens to be right there.
true.
So I don't think there's any kind of etiquette.
well, like, but did it even say, like, Grimmauld Place, like, he said nothing, he just started yelling into the fireplace?
No, he did. He said where he wanted to go.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So, like, say if Grimwell Place had, like, 5 fireplaces,
But
massive.
no,
Is he going to be going through all of them? Or could, like, say he flews in, like, Harry has 1 fireplace in his house, and he goes to call, like, say Ron and Hermione hit the lottery, and they've got 5 fireplaces. And so he goes to call them, and Hermione's talking to him during one. Could, like, Ron pop in from another fireplace in their house, and they could have, like, a 3-way chat?
Probably.
But do you have to wear pants?
No.
Okay.
It's like Zoom.
optional.
You don't have to wear pants.
You need to be careful, though. Because that one got up and was not wearing pants.
Okay, next question comes from Brannog. Iggy, you have way too much to say. Do you think, knowing it was one of their last conversations, that Sirius would regret the way he spoke to Harry?
For sure.
I think he regretted it as soon as he said it, but he's too stubborn to apologize for anything like that. And, you know.
Agreed.
I hear that.
And also, I feel like he's the kind of guy, along with Harry, that sometimes apologies are not said, but just understood.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah. Okay, last one from Marchismo.
Every time I see that, I think of maraschino.
Same. And I'm just going to call you Cherry. No, I'm kidding. Okay. How do you think the other Ministry employees thought of Percy?
I feel like they're like,
Thought he was brown noser, probably.
No, who was the guy from the last book that died? Why can't Barty Crouch? I think they're like him. They're like Weaselbaum, you know what I mean? Like, they don't even know who he is. That's my personal preference.
He is getting a little bit more attention in this book, like with Fudge and whatnot. So maybe they're annoyed with him. Probably. I mean, a lot of people. If you think about how he was at school, a lot of people were annoyed with him.
Yeah, he's probably a micromanager, which is never fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think that. I either think they're indifferent or they're annoyed.
That's all we got. I'm done.
All right.
No more.
No more. All
On
right.
to the fan story.
I have a question.
No, Sarah. What?
So, if you transformed a bird into a teacup and threw it into a flue fire, would it crash? Or would it go through the fire?
It would fly out and live.
It would
Next-
pop
But it's
out
now
in
a
another
cup.
fireplace.
But, like, what if, like, you're super allergic to cats, and I transfigured a cat into a teacup, and I threw it through the fire, and then through the fire, the teacup became a cat again? Would you die?
You'd be sneezing tea.
Sneezing tea.
Just saying.
Alright, so, fan story. This week comes from Dylan. Dylan says, okay, this is my Potter story. My name is Dylan, and I am 13. When I was about 5, I was starting to hear about these books and movies that were suddenly starting to get popular in my school because of Deathly Hallows Part 2. I need to pause and say this is super interesting because I heard about Harry Potter through school. So I like that it had a resurgence.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's still... Harry Potter's not going anywhere. That's all I gotta say.
Tell that to all the crazy Universal Annual Pass holders. They're like, stop building Harry Potter stuff. It's a phase. It's gonna be over. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, go ahead.
Iggy agrees. I made the major mistake of just brushing it off and going on my way. Thank you, Iggy.
Jeez,
I have
cat.
a question about that, Megan. Like, isn't that the biggest reason why, like, Universal's now getting more money is because they built Harry Potter stuff and people are coming to the parks? Okay, thank you, bye.
Yeah.
They filed. They were about to file for bankruptcy, and then they launched Potter.
Harry Potter saved their butts. But okay, go ahead.
They cast a spell. Savo Buddyo.
It's okay. I've sipped my tea many times.
Yeah.
I'm content.
Did you sip your tea, or was your tea a cat transformed into?
You know,
tea?
I'm not sure.
It's not tea, it's the teacup.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Maybe
Teacup.
I used the teacup that was actually a cat, though.
How cute! The little tail
Meow.
could be all stripy. I mean, the handle would be all stripy because it's the tail.
Okay. What's happening? Read Dylan's story.
Sorry, Dylan. Okay. Then, 3 years later, when I was 8, I took an interest in magic and cryptids and things like that. My mom recommended a book and movie series called Harry Potter. I had already skimmed through the books because we had them in our home library, but I never really got into them. So a few weeks later, I decided to watch Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, and I loved it. Then, last year, I decided to start reading the books, and I finished them in 1 week. Woohoo!
Oh my gosh.
While still doing my other hobbies like drawing and playing video games, and I love that too. My house is Slytherin. My Patronus is a Dunsalion. What is that? Someone look that up, please. My wand is black walnut wood, unyielding, 11 3/4 inches, and a dragon heartstring core. My favorite character is Albus Dumbledore. And my Ilvermorny house is Wampus. Sorry for the entire novel that I emailed you. Have a great day. First of all, do not apologize for sending any length of an email to us. Yeah. Second, I totally relate to you because I did the same thing through school, and I was like, Harry Potter, I don't need this in my life, but I really did.
It is a Dunstallion.
Oh,
Yeah.
Stallion.
It's a horse.
Got it.
So
It's
Just
just
a horse of another color.
Yeah.
It's a horse of a different color.
Your hobbies are awesome. I
Yeah.
too like to play video games.
Yup.
I, too, do not like to play video games.
That's because you're not good at them, sucker.
I like to draw and
I
play
find
video
joy in
games.
other things. I love the sound of a
honestly-
family library.
What?
Didn't he say that in their family library?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you said something about you at a family library.
No, I mean, we kind of do. It's just scattered. I was
True.
complaining to my mother about the amount of books we have in our house that, like, they're not all mine. It's just, like, when we moved into our house when I was 17, my mom still had her college nursing school books from, I think then it was 30 years ago.
Unnecessary,
Roughly.
completely.
Like, why do you still have these? But we're a book-loving family, so it's every room besides bathrooms. But my parents' bathroom has a book in it.
Okay.
Just one book. But
I mean, they
Dylan.
might have two. I don't know.
Thank you.
Thank you,
very
Dylan.
much for sharing your story.
I love hearing from our younger listeners. Love it.
Yes.
So
Tiffany,
thank you
do you
so
love
much.
it?
I love it. Whatever.
All right, are you ready for the joke of the week?
Yeah.
Give it
Why did Beetle write all those stories anyway?
to Bard.
Because one day he was barred.
I was almost there.
You're almost there, like Tiana.
All right.
I'm almost there. I had a Band-Aid on that was Tiana today.
Almost
there. Find us
I
on
put
social
a bunch
media.
together and cut myself.
I'm sorry. I was like, I don't want to just like talk over the fact that you like cut yourself. I'm sorry about that. But anyway.
I mean, it wasn't bad, but I did need a Band-Aid. It's fine.
Find us on Facebook at Swish and Flick Podcast. You can also join our Facebook group called Swish and Flick Podcast Group. We're on Twitter and Instagram at Swish Flick Cast. You can follow your hosts, myself and Katie, on Twitter and Instagram at The Petrus Family. Tiffany is on Twitter and Instagram at TiffSwish_Flick. And Sarah is on Instagram at Mally, which is 3 H's. And we also...
I don't like ha ha ha. That implies there's A's in between the H's, and there is not.
No A's. Oh.
Oh, Mally. We love doing stories on Instagram, and we tend to go live before we record, so make sure that you turn notifications and alerts on so that you can join in on the fun with us. Also, if you love this podcast and want to support us, you can be a part of it at patreon.com/swishflickcast. I am fairly certain this episode will come out before the end of the month, so we've extended the cutoff date for Phoenix Plus patron boxes for July to May 31st. So if you join by May 31st, you will be eligible to get the Phoenix Plus box in July, which is approved by Mrs. Norris herself.
Meow.
Meow.
Katie, did you ever pick your charity?
Nope.
No, I need to do that.
Oh, well,
Oh,
we
wait,
talked
wait.
about maybe doing a COVID-19 charity
Yes.
for this month, and then
Yes.
Katie would pick next month,
That's fine with me.
Ah.
which I'm okay with, if everybody else is.
Yep.
Fun.
So
hey, that's what we're doing.
yeah.
Cool. What am
thank
I
you.
doing?
Yeah,
Talk
go
about
for it.
me.
Well, really
Let's-
quick, I just wanted to give a quick shout out to everybody who. This is graduation season, and I know a lot of people have totally different situations now with graduation, but we just wanted to say a big, massive congrats to everybody that is graduating right now, because it's awesome that you did it, even though the end of the semester was weird, but you got there, it happened, congratulations, and we are all super happy for everybody.
Did it.
Yes. Let's talk about preschool graduation, kindergarten graduation,
Yes.
high school, college. Those are the main big ones that I can think of, at least like in my world. Eighth grade graduation. Good job. Woo, woo, woo.
You're awesome.
Honestly,
All certifications, yes.
like it's a really big deal to be going through this at that time, and it is something that is going to shape you. So we have
Also, just shout out to anybody that finished the dang semester. Shout out to you.
Right?
yeah, honestly.
So,
So I've been playing a lot of Breath of the Wild. I am having so much fun. I beat the first beast. So I kind of got that. I don't want to say too much in front of you,
yeah.
Megan.
I like how, like, Tiffany's like, oh, do you guys want to do, like, a play together? And then she's, like, halfway through it already, and I'm like, hello, didn't even buy it yet. Okay, thanks.
Sorry, I'm not sorry. There's plenty I can do in this game. Don't worry.
games are
There's
not
hours
short.
and hours.
I know.
And playing a lot of Animal Crossing. It's cool to talk about it with Swishers in the Stock Market Swishers Animal Crossing group. So that's been awesome. We only have one more week of our workout program left, and then we have to venture on and possibly do something else, or I'm not sure yet.
Do it again.
We'll see. And yeah, so I do want to. Well, I'm momming and all of that, and everything's great. We're just living that toddler life over here. So I wanted to shout out someone. I went to high school with this person. Her name is Meredith, and she does really awesome fabric work. Like, she has like a loom and everything, and she makes weavings. She's based in Chicago. You can get commission pieces from her. So her name is Meredith Donnelly. She's a beautiful human. So she doesn't have an Etsy shop, but you can go through her Instagram and you can commission a piece from her. So it's Meredith Donnelly Fibers. And that's Meredith spelled traditionally. Donnelly is Donnelly, and Fibers, Fibers. And then she also has another thing going on where she's small business and she's getting hit pretty hard right now. And so I just wanted to give her some love. So she also has a photography business, and she is an amazing photographer. So that is Meredith Donnelly Photography. And just go to her Instagram pages, give her some love. If you like her weavings, get something nice for your place, and just give her some love in this time. Tell her Tiffany from Swish and Flick sent you. And that is all I have.
Awesome. I wanted to give a shout out to the Swisher that made a Swish and Flick BuzzFeed quiz, which is hilarious and awesome. I am proud to say that I got 16 out of 16. Thank you. Also, our friend Chris took the quiz, and I just want to give props to him. He got 14 out of 16.
That's pretty
And
great.
What did he miss?
He missed the quote at the end, not the "Don't let the muggles get you down," but the quote by the fat lady, like
Which
what
he
it
would
is,
never
which
know.
he honestly never would have known. So fine,
Although
and
he should listen to the pod.
right, and then he didn't get the birthday right.
Well, and what I said was technically the day that Swish and Flick was invented and created was June 26th. It just came out July 31st.
We have
So I
two
guess our
birthdays.
anniversary is the 31st.
We have
maybe.
2 birthdays.
I would accept both answers.
I would not, because I'm a stickler for the rules. No, just kidding. It doesn't matter.
But yeah, what's going on with me? I'm officially full-time working from home, so that is pretty amazing. I'm super excited about that. I'm really going to start working on getting our design business, like, set and ready for business. So, I'm excited. Good changes are happening.
It is.
And I am happy about them.
Is this past your birthday now where we're recording this? Probably, yeah. If not, happy birthday or happy after your birthday.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
I'm gonna be 30.
It's okay. 30 and flirty.
30
Woo-hoo!
and flirty
30!
and thriving.
What am I doing? Getting swole. Not really. Just working out. Trying to be healthy. Playing a lot of Animal Crossing and just hanging out with my girl and my cats. Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about you, Sarah?
I'm doing a whole lot of nothing. I built a bench today, so that is now 4 things I've made, I think.
Yeah.
Right? What have I made? The desk chair, the piano, and the bench. The bench cut me, though. And then we're getting, like, I think we're getting, not patio furniture, but, like, a little bistro set to go in our front yard. Not in our front yard, but we've got, like, a little bricked-off area, like, right by our front door. Then I was like, Mom, I literally took a picture, and then I drew on it like you can draw on, like, your iPhone. And I was like, a table and chairs would look so nice right here. So I think she might have bought one. I don't know. But I'll probably put that together when it comes as well, because that's what I do now. But I've been watching a lot of shows. So I was telling Tiffany this yesterday, because yesterday while we were recording this was my mom's birthday. So,
Happy birthday!
yeah. I watched I think it's Zoe's exceptional. It's always something playlist. I don't know if it's like it's not imaginary. Maybe it's like exceptionary. I don't know. Extraordinary. Zoe's extraordinary playlist. And if you're into musicals, because like every episode, like they're singing, so basically like something happens to where like now she can hear. She calls them heart songs. So she hears people singing their heart songs. Like, and there's some really freaking talented people in this show. So like. Austin Schuyler's in there. There's a Schuyler Austin. I don't know what his name is. He was in Pitch Perfect, is in it. Bernadette Peters is in it. And, you know, if you know who she is, like, she's freaking phenomenal. The woman that played, she was in Hamilton. Why can't I think of her name? But she was in it. She's one of the Schuyler sisters. She's not Peggy. Angelica. She was Angelica. She played Angelica. I had to think of the song in my head. So it was phenomenal. I really, really liked that show. I will say it's kind of, some of the material is very heavy because her dad has a disease that's like progressively getting worse. So I will tell you that if you are sensitive to that stuff. I cried everything. I did pretty much stop watching the last episode, but it was like, oh, so good. What else have I watched? I watched Hollywood. There's a new show on Netflix. I will say that there's like some swearing and some nudity in it, so it's very adult. But that was phenomenal. So that's from Ryan Murphy, and he does American Horror Story. So he's super talented. There's super talented people in that, like Darren Criss is in it, and other people. It was so good. I finished that today. Run on HBO, again, adult, but Donald Gleason is in that. He plays Bill Weasley. Very good. And that is done by like Phoebe Waller-Bridge, I think is her name. That's her show, and she does Fleabag, which is, I guess, has won a bunch of awards. And I've watched a couple of those episodes, but I've been enjoying Run a lot. And that's pretty much all I've been doing. What else? Oh, Normal People on Hulu, another show. I haven't finished that yet because I had to take a break because it's like emotional. But I really enjoy that. Again, that's like more of an adult show too. Like, but it's super good, and it's got people with accents, so you know I'm gonna like it.
Speaking of Bill Weasley, we watched a film that he was in when he was younger, not like a kid, but younger, called About Time.
That's not that old.
Oh yeah.
I
But
don't
it's
know.
a great movie.
It
It's
was
fantastic.
phenomenal. Like, if you want a feel-good movie, and it's especially great for these times,
It is
watch
very
it.
pertinent to the times.
Oh,
like,
so
highly
good.
recommend. If you're in, like, a bad headspace just about, like, everything going on and life in general, like, right now, go watch About Time. It will put your head in the right
spot.
right
man.
spot. It is just, it's a great movie. And then also, another really good, like, don't have to think about anything type of show to watch. Go watch The Great British Bake Off. It's literally the bomb.
Yes. Nancy Burt was all. Okay.
Yes. But I'm done now.
All right. Good up, friends. Good up.
Yep.
Okay, well, just fair warning, when we come back, it's another split chapter. Surprise! Not really, but we get to talk about the amazing and lovely new High Inquisitor of Hogwarts.
Oh.
And I gotta say, she's a delight. Okay, that concludes this week's episode. Thank you so much for listening, and don't let the muggles get you down.
Amazing! Just my voice!
Got it. All right, ready? Is that really all your section is?
Well, I'm gonna read the letter, which is pretty long.
Jeez.
So it's
I
okay.
was like, I thought I messed up in my... I was like,
No.
oh, wait.
It's because I'm gonna read the letter.
Meg waits till right now to be like, I didn't finish my notes.
I sat down to record and realized this, so
Right.
I'm not a stranger to these things. Jeez. All right. Sorry, I flipped out for a second.
No, you're good.
No, I didn't think that you didn't do your notes. I thought that I only gave you that much, and I was like, she should have said something.
No, it's all good.